After 2 projects of collaboration, Mahir considers you her best partner. We've provided Mahir further sponsorship. What new ideas does she have this time? Will she succeed? She definitely will. Mahir comes to you excitedly, announcing her success. She enjoys success, enjoys researching new things and overcoming new challenges. Most of all, she enjoys sharing both the hard work and the joy it brings with you. We've lost the Aether we sponsored her with, but she's made us a hot air balloon. Let's go. Please, these Aether are sitting unused in the church. It's simply wasteful, Mahir keeps insisting. She's given us a way to get more Aether, but the church might not approve. Today's report is a report about you. You and the Sultan's game, you and these cards, have now become legends among the people. Many soldiers, especially the younger ones, have started carving designs they've heard about from the Sultan's card onto their shields and armor. Most of these are carnality cards, often featuring your face alongside other indecent symbols or organs. On a small scale, this might seem like a harmless prank, but on a larger scale it raises a significant issue, as only the portraits of successive sultans are deemed worthy of being engraved on officers' weapons. I'm afraid the Sultan will misunderstand. You quickly ordered a strict investigation into this troublemaking behavior. The Sultan's game is no joke, at least not for you. Zaki has learned some survival skills. Anyone who dares to say that he can conquer the desert will eventually be swallowed by its sands. Yeah, no one conquers a desert, they just sort of survive it. Lumera wants to talk? We found Lumera in the study. She seems spellbound, chanting the deciphered starry spell over and over again. Whatever you said beside her, she seemed not to hear a word. After a while, she looked up, a silver star-cross flashing in her left eye, both eerie and sacred. She read the spell faster and faster, and many words not recorded in the parchment slipped from her lips, as if some higher will were whispering to her, as if this will had chosen her as an innocent vessel. She finally understood. The meaning of opening was to open a door leading to the path of infinity. Opening meant severing the link to the present world. She seemed to have knocked on the door of the spell. Should you stop her from continuing to read it? You can either praise the unknown existence, or call Lumera back to me. I'm gonna call her back. You shouted loudly at her, then shook her shoulders vigorously. Seeing that this couldn't interrupt her pouring chant, you grabbed the oil lamp and set fire to the spell in her hand. The letters on the spell shifted within the dancing flames. The star-cross in her eyes gradually faded. In the void, something seemed to sigh. Lumera suddenly collapsed to the ground, fainting as if exhausted. Did she wake up? You worriedly sent for a doctor. Hot air balloon, a flash of genius. When Mahir said she could send you to heaven, you thought it was a joke. It's a consumable that gives me 20 survival. It also would probably let me escape the city. No, it won't. Okay. Well, I guess I've just got a hot air balloon now. Go team. When disaster struck, you and your wife dismissed most of the servants to keep them from being caught up in this cruel game. Unfortunately, not everyone appreciated your goodwill. One person stole some money. Luckily, he was caught just as he was about to spend it. I can defend him, say that the money was given to him by me. Quote, let him atone with his body, which could be a lot of things. I think it's a translation of, like, he can work it off, or I can keep the money but let him go. I don't need it, my man. You let him go, perhaps out of mercy or perhaps out of fatigue. You gained a renown and I've lost an infamy. The dark alley is flooded with countless unknown things. Some are stolen goods, others are even worse. My task is to reach into that murky stream, seize the moment, catch a wave, or a book. Once it's out of that river, it becomes as perfect and intriguing as the rest of my collection. The bookstore owner says this to you as he invites you, or someone as skilled in combat as you, to join him in catching waves. We've run out all of the books that the angler can sell to us, but the owner of the angler has other sources if we're willing to help him. You only need to keep watch. The bookstore owner, much like a hound, can always sniff out his target in the bustling dark alley. Just make sure he doesn't get hit with a blackjack. Bonk. Plenty. Today's a good day. A fine book acquired, knowledge gained without bloodshed. Minar decides to leave. She laments as she bids you farewell. She cannot bear to have her talents exploited by the Sultan any longer. Your journey to find a place untouched by the Sultan's influence, never to return again. You're her only cherished companion. She smiles. Wish me luck. If I find such a paradise, I'll write to you. No matter how you loathe to say goodbye, the time for parting has come. This journey will surely be difficult. Maybe you can help her one last time. I've funded her a final time, even though she doesn't intend to come back. Nar gratefully accepts the funds you've offered. She will always cherish your adventures together. Those are our most treasured memories of this land. You watch her silhouette disappearing into the distance, knowing this might be the last time you see each other in this life. You believe that someday you'll receive a letter. She'll passionately recount the details of her travel, the distant treasures of distant lands, and invite you to that unknown utopia. Perhaps that letter will arrive next month, maybe next year, one day. A book of lyrical poetry, and the most beautiful hairpin flower is the one that falls from a lover's hair. In tottering steps, the poet ponders through a garden of lost splendors, reminiscing on the wonders of youth. Nayla's vanity is as renowned as her charm. She sends you a message suggesting you use the Sultan's card on her. This way she can return to being the center of palace gossip, and you in the process may gain immense pleasure. When you pull out the shiny Sultan card, she excitedly grabs it, admiring the magical flowing patterns. But why is there a picture of a woman taking her own life? She asks while undressing, revealing her body adorned with gold threads and embroidery. Because love breeds life, and death takes them. Ultimately, they are but two sides of the same coin, you explain, pressing her breasts before the crimson nectar of life splurged from her chest, splattering on the knife's handle as you remove it from her. Nayla came to us and told us to use a carnality card on her, in spite of what our wife may have wanted. She happened to be the same quality of character as our bloodshed card demanded, so it seemed a neat way to take care of it, especially since she would have become a very ardent opposition of us if we didn't use a carnality card on her. Unlike the solemn, silent royal library, the Scholar's Haven hums with human voices, Academy members and knowledge-seeking citizens discussing, exploring, questioning, explaining between copying and page-turning, occasionally debating yet creating unexpected harmony, an ordinary yet hopeful symphony. We take 3 books that I asked them to copy for me. A strangely dressed, itinerant monk claimed that you have a connection to the god he worships and wanted to give you an ancient statue. The statue has a serene and compassionate look, but you always felt something was off about it. Free statue! For days you couldn't sleep well and felt groggy upon waking, till one day you accidentally killed a servant. Blood calmed you down for a short time, and you quickly asked someone to get rid of the strange statue, throwing it as far away as possible. But many people think that your excuse is just an excuse to cover up the crime. Well, a statue made me murder someone. Shit. Clearly, in Nabani's imagination, the Sultan's game should be full of skirmish, sex, and scandal. His sword should be clanging steels, but the only clanging that echoed was the clanging of accounted gold coins, counting day after day after day. This obviously couldn't satisfy his restless heart. Soon enough, he returned to his former life of debauchery. Perhaps, once he's bored, he'll come back to check if you're still alive every now and then. While you struggle to survive, Nabani is out having fun. Games aren't games, reality isn't reality. A fantasy novel about a meritocratic nation where the only measurement of merit is how well one plays marbles. The better one plays, the higher one climbs. You remember playing marbles as a child. Raj has learned some new exercise techniques. And we draw our next card. Conquest card. Finally, we can justify our investigations. Qais accompanies you to the governor's mansion in the city. He takes out the search warrant prepared in advance, demanding an investigation. However, the aged governor firmly states that you have no right to search their mansion on such ridiculous grounds, while the old lady tearfully rebukes Qais, lamenting that she has already lost her daughter, and instead of catching the criminal, incompetent officials come bother the innocent. She is the victim's mother. Qais, unable to handle such a scene, looks at you helplessly. You sigh. It seems to you that Conquest card, irrefutable proof to your rights to act as you please, granted by the Sultan himself, would ease these matters. The two elders stare at the card in your hand, depicting royal power. They look at each other, then at last they sink back into their seats, hands trembling, eyes full of reluctant understanding. They cannot stop you now. You give Qais a slight nod. Now the interrogation begins. Can you uncover the truth? Your collaboration has uncovered the truth. At first, the servants cower before their master's shadow. But you soothe them, and at last truth spills forth. With their help, you find the boy first, hidden in a cellar, pale and numb, his eyes hollowed by fear. Then in the garden you find the woman's body buried deeply. Irrefutable evidence. The elders attempt to protest, but in the end they crumble. It began as a quarrel. The daughter, fresh from her journey, refused to surrender her dowry to prop up the family's failing ventures. Heated words were exchanged, and threats. She swore she would tell her husband, the tax collector. Her father's fury flared. He pushed her, she fell, the temple at the corner of the table. Leave the rest to me. Qais gathers the poor boy in his arms, holding him close for some time, and finally murmurs, "Thank you." Gain renown and influence, and it does consume the Conquest card. I wasn't sure if it would or not, since it didn't give us a strict level of card that we could put into it. It's to you. You burned the incomplete Star-Souled spell, stopping the unknown passage from being opened. The Lumera, who bore the brunt of it, fainted. Was she awake? You consulted the best doctors, but they all said she only needed time. After waiting patiently for several more days, finally, on a beautiful evening at twilight, Lumera reopened her eyes as if she had just had a good sleep. Though she didn't say a word, you could sense subtle, indescribable changes in her. It seems being touched by the unknown leaves traces. Wow! Wow, she got a lot better at a lot of things. Someone swore that they had seen a pure black horse in the wilds east of the city. It was elegant and slender, with satin-like hair that shone as it ran, seeming to fly with the wind despite lacking wings. Many hunters have tried to track it down and tame it, but they all returned empty-handed. Following the hunter's guidance, you lay in ambush for several days and finally see it. The pure black stallion stepped into the shallow ripples of the oasis under the enchanting moonlight, its fur shimmering as though it held a light. Seemingly catching your scent, it raised its head and looked towards your hiding spot. You almost dared not breathe as it gazed out at you from afar. They say the divine steed chooses its own master. Your guide's voice drops to a whisper. Many have tried to capture it. All have failed. Something stirs within you, a pull you can't explain. Slowly you rise to your feet, your eyes fix on the horse, a creature not of this world. You open your arms to it. The stallion steps gingerly, seeming hesitant. However, it soon snorts and approaches you. Shimmering light reflects it in the water, creating a path of scattered brightness behind it. Lowers its head gently as it reaches you. You touch its warm forehead, feeling as though you've touched the generous gift of the deity. Mahir, who I sent to capture it, has gotten a bit better at survival, and we've gained a stallion. Asal, owner of the Angler, has heard of your recent fascination with the mysterious, and he brings a few ancient volumes for you to peruse, yet only one captures your attention. A seemingly ordinary exchange? You have your servant hand the money to Asal, and he wraps the book in silk before placing it in your hands. On the surface, it seems like any ordinary exchange. Yet, just before leaving, Asal speaks a few strange words. Sometimes you may feel like a small boat adrift on unfriendly waters. If that happens, come find me. I will gladly help. Before you can ask what he means, he bows and departs. You've received a book called Ambiguities, May we no longer be punished by harsh nature and sleep peacefully tonight. Raj is full of respect for the pioneering spirit of their ancestors. They've gotten a lot better at survival. Saki wants our attention. But first it's time to draw a new card. Stone Bloodshed card. Zaki comes to you in a daze. So he tells you that he accidentally found a letter his father received before his death, revealing that his father had used his mother's family money to keep a prostitute. The letter was written by his father's brother, and from its contents, it seems the father was very worried that the mother would be furious about this, even fearing for his life. Remembering the days before his father's death, the young man recalls his mother suddenly preparing strange herbal tea, the sudden visit and departure of his uncle, noises at night, and all the father's guards being sent away. He knelt down and begged you to guide him.